My name is Emily Parker, and I spent most of my growing up years in the quiet, tree-lined suburbs of Seattle, Washington. Looking back, my childhood appeared ordinary to anyone on the outside. Days filled with school, homework, family dinners, and the soft drizzle of northwest rain. Yet there was one element that stood apart from all the rest, something extraordinary woven through those otherwise simple years. My friendship with Daniel Mitchell. Daniel wasn't just the boy who lived down the street. To me, he was something far deeper, a steady anchor through the restless tides of childhood. He understood me in a way I didn't yet understand myself. We met in elementary school, not through some dramatic event, but through the simplest of things. We both loved to draw tiny doodles in the margins of our notebooks. That small connection became a spark, and by the time we were both 12, it had grown into something unshakable. We made pinky promises that no matter where life pulled us, we would remain inseparable friends, forever and always. But life, as it often does, had plans of its own. When I was just 14, my father received an unexpected job offer in Boston, and my family had no choice but to pack up and move clear across the country. I can still picture that night before I left. Daniel and I sitting side by side on the swings in our neighborhood park. The sky above us painted with the rich golds, oranges, and deep purples of a Pacific Northwest sunset. We barely spoke at first. The weight of the coming goodbye hung heavy in the air. Daniel reached into his pocket and handed me a bracelet, woven threads of blue and green, the kind we used to make together in art class. "No matter how far you go," he said quietly, "this means you'll always have a piece of Seattle. And a piece of me." I didn't trust my voice enough to answer. I just nodded, clutching the bracelet like it was a lifeline. For a while, we did our best to keep that promise. We wrote long letters back and forth, pages filled with everything from school stories to silly jokes to secrets we hadn't told anyone else. When letters became too slow, we switched to emails, then to shorter and shorter messages. Gradually, without either of us meaning for it to happen, the silence crept in. Life moved forward. Years began to pile up between us like bricks in a wall. I went on to high school, then to college in New York City, and eventually built a career in publishing. I made new friends, took on new responsibilities, and convinced myself that childhood friendships were meant to fade. Yet in quiet moments, on long walks home from work, on nights when the rain tapped softly against my window, I would find myself wondering, what happened to Daniel? Does he ever think of me too? Nearly 15 years passed before something shifted. One late evening, exhausted after a long day at the office, I found myself scrolling absent-mindedly through social media, and there he was. Daniel. His face flashed on my screen like a memory I'd forgotten was still alive. He stood in front of a small community art gallery in Portland, Oregon, smiling, with a canvas tucked under one arm. His hair was longer now, his jawline more defined, but his eyes and that unmistakable smile, the one that used to make me laugh on our long summer bike rides, were exactly the same. My heart started pounding. Before I could second-guess myself, I typed out a message. "Daniel, is this really you?" My fingers trembled as I pressed send. To my surprise, he replied within minutes. His message was warm, filled with the same easy charm I remembered. One message turned into another, and soon we were talking daily. We caught up on everything we had missed, the years, the milestones, the dreams and detours. Daniel told me how he had turned his childhood passion for drawing into a life as a painter, how he had built a small but thriving career sharing his work with the world. He confessed he often thought about our childhood days in Seattle. I admitted I had missed him more than I ever dared to say out loud. A few weeks later, Daniel invited me to Portland to see one of his exhibitions. At first I hesitated. Questions swirled through my mind. What if we've changed too much? What if the memories are sweeter than the reality? But something deep inside told me I needed to go. On the morning of our reunion, I boarded a train from Seattle to Portland, nervous and excited all at once. As the train rolled past towering evergreens and along winding rivers, I pressed my forehead to the glass and let childhood memories play like an old film reel. I reached into my bag and touched the bracelet Daniel had given me all those years ago. Its colors faded, but its threads still strong. When the train finally pulled into the station, my heart raced so loudly I could hear it in my ears. And then I saw him. Daniel stood a few feet away, holding a bouquet of daisies, the same flowers we used to pick from the park as kids and weave into crowns. His hair curled slightly over his ears now, his shoulders broader, but his eyes still carried the warmth that had once been my safe place. "Emily," he said softly, almost as if he couldn't quite believe I was standing there in front of him. Tears stung my eyes. "Daniel," I whispered back. We walked side by side through the city streets, slipping easily into conversation as though no time at all had passed. He showed me his gallery, a modest but vibrant space filled with canvases alive with color. Each painting seemed to hold a story. One particular piece stopped me cold. 2 children on swings beneath a glowing sunset, painted in strokes of amber and lavender. My throat tightened. "That's us, isn't it?" I murmured. Daniel nodded, his eyes soft. "I painted it the week you moved." I never forgot that evening. In that moment, something clicked inside me. Time might change our faces, our lives, our paths, but genuine connection doesn't fade. What we had built as children had survived distance, silence, and years, waiting quietly for us to return. The weekend passed in a rush of laughter, long talks, and new memories layered over the old ones. We shared stories about our journeys, our heartbreaks, our triumphs, and how grateful we both felt to have found our way back to each other after so long. On my last night in Portland, we walked once more to the gallery and stood before that painting of the 2 children on swings. The room was quiet, except for the hum of the city outside. Daniel turned to me and said softly, "You know, Emily, maybe this isn't just about finding an old friend. Maybe it's about realizing some stories aren't finished yet." For the first time in years, I didn't just believe in the past. I believed in the future we could build, something new, something neither of us had expected. When I boarded the train back to Seattle the next morning, the bracelet still snug around my wrist and my heart full to bursting, I knew with absolute certainty, this wasn't the end of a chapter. It was the beginning of a story I never thought I'd get to write.